So let's talk about the bottom line of ROI. This is an area where there are just some basic components. So there are three classical components: internal rate of return. There's payback period, both accrual and cash. They're different. And then there's net present value. That's it. What are some of the data points you're looking for?
Yeah. So with this, number one, as we take a look at the data points overall, you've got your total investments year over year and what that cash outlay looks like. So year zero, you're going to have your professional services cash outlay, as well as whatever service or whatever software subscriptions costs you have.
And some people will capitalize those. So some people will capitalize those costs and amortize them over a couple, 3 years.
Correct. And then you've also got your savings, and the savings piece, as you're taking a look at your technology components, you want to make sure that you're not overstating your savings there, understanding when your contracts expire so that you can project out that savings based on expiration dates so that you're not overstating that. And then the operational savings as well. So as you take a look at this and you take a look at whatever it is that you're implementing, what can you get most immediately? So most immediately in terms of savings and adoption, screen pops are a great example of that. Day one, you go live, that agent gets the screen pop, they're going to be able to cut off time.
And how much time? 20 seconds over a year.
Over a year.
Yep.
Over, 1 million calls or however many calls that your contact center takes, that's significant.
It's huge.
Yeah. Self-service is another great example. You've got that's going to be an immediate savings based on whatever use cases you have. Now, there could be some lags in terms of customer adoption, but certainly those are immediate saves. Then you've got your longer term saves. So your longer term saves are going to be things like quality management and the coaching that goes into quality management. You're not going to see that day one. It's going to take time for you to continue to invest that time in the agents, to coach the agents, for them to change their behaviors. But 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're going to start seeing those savings as well. Any sort of interaction analytics is another great example. It's not a day one savings, but it's going to be 60, 90 days out. You're going to start seeing savings there. So understanding when you start seeing those savings is absolutely critical as well. And that's all going to feed into the internal rate of return, the net present value. And one of the things that I really focus on is that year zero. And I know, in working with my CFOs in the past, certainly they want the payback just as quickly as they can. So the time to payback is absolutely critical. Anytime we can get that year zero into a neutral or a positive state is a very, very strong, solid business case. It doesn't happen all the time, especially depending on how large that transformation is. But there are times, especially in the SaaS world, where we can get that to a neutral or positive state in year zero, based on what we're seeing.
So in some respects here, we're trying to smash attrition rate. Let's see if we can compress average handle time. Let's see if we can move things over into a bot. We look at containment and then what that's going to take out of the queue for human agents. So, and I guess as we do each one of those things, we need to know, well, how much does it cost per person, right? Inside the organization, what's your labor burden on that? Which pretty significant. Typically, you're trying to find out a lot of costing information around the business, I would imagine.
Absolutely. So you do bring up some great points there in terms of average agent labor, average supervisor labor, and those are fully burdened metrics that we look for. If you don't know your fully burdened rate, we can certainly, use benchmark data. Most companies have their benefit load at a 20 to 30% load. So
I was going to say 25. So, hey, we're right in there. Like that's pretty reasonable by the time you put in taxes, insurance, 401k contribution, something in there. Like it's easy to get to that number. Yeah. And then probably like just overall metrics, you need to know like how many calls do we take a year? How many emails do we take a year? If we don't do chat, like how many visitors do we get to the website? Like all those types of things.
Yes, absolutely. So those are all metrics that we take a look at, as well as average handle time, what that looks like today.
Mm-hmm.
How occupied are the agents? What percentage of time are they actually physically on calls? What else do they do during the day?
Yeah.
Is there offline work that they need to do? And is that something that we could automate or take a look at as well? So the discovery process within an ROI is pretty intensive. It's not just what is your cost for your telecom invoices today and your maintenance contracts. It's let's get into the brass tacks of what you're spending in your contact center and how you're spending it. How many quality analysts do you have today? How many calls do they monitor, and what does that feedback loop look like? What's your workforce management process today? How do you staff and forecast? What does that look like today? Are you measuring adherence to the schedules, and what does that look like? Because all of these inputs are going to help us get to the outputs of how much improvement we can offer. And in terms of contact center maturity, everybody's on different varying levels of maturity within their contact center. So if you're a very mature contact center organization, there's still areas to improve on, but that ROI is going to look very different than somebody who is a laggard in the maturity level.
That's a great point.